Welcome back to JD Mods. In today's video we're going to be working on the SC400. If you guys are new to the channel, we also have a GS300 and an LS400. Feel free to check out the other videos if you want to see more on those cars. But today we are finally getting started on the cheap SC400. So we haven't really shown this car much at all on this channel, so first what I'm going to do is give you guys a walk around of everything. Show you guys the good things about this car and the things that are broken and need to be fixed. So let's just jump right into it. I apologize for the wind. It's pretty darn windy, but it hasn't started to rain yet, which it is calling for, so let's just get this on the road. So starting with the back of the car, we have this big old hole in the trunk. It's been like passed over with like this like drywall tape. So we have to either fix the trunk or get a new trunk. The trunk's also been like spray painted really badly. So the whole trunk would have to be probably taken off the car, sanded and repainted. There's also like this faint but noticeable spray paint on the trunk. So this car was treated quite poorly. The rear corridors are decent condition. We have a bit of rust down here. It's not through though, so just sand it down, grind off the rust. Bit of Bondo. The whole fender will just have to be repaired. This car is by no means rust free, but it is solid. This front fender is in pretty much perfect condition, which is nice. The headlights are no cracks or anything, but they could use a polish. The inside ones are glass, so they're perfect condition. The bumper has some chipping paint, but obviously since it's plastic there's no rust. The passenger side fender is probably the worst rust spot on the car. That has to be patched in unless I can find a replacement fender altogether. But the rockers on the car are in good condition, so I'm not worried about any frame rotting away. It is an old Lexus, so it is pretty good condition in that sense. Now going on the interior, we'll go inside the driver door so I can show you guys the interior. It is clean, but it's in pieces, if that makes any sense. The last owner was gonna start to drift it or something, so he started stripping the interior. It's obviously leather, tan leather interior. There's a few broken pieces which I might try and repair or source new ones. Like we've got both of those are broken on both sides of the coupe. It's all there. The interior, like the dash paneling is all there. We have like that piece, for example. We're missing the lights, I believe those are. We're missing the sun visors. They're all in the trunk. That's going to be today's video. We're going to take everything out of the trunk and see what we have. Got to put the boot back on the e-brake. Got to connect the e-brake. But aesthetically, that is everything basically. As you can see from the door cards, or that's not the door card, that's just the body. The door cards themselves are in pretty good condition along the bottom. So there's no major rust, just a bunch of surface rust, unfortunately. Now let's get to the mechanical issues. The major mechanical issue is that there is no brakes on the car whatsoever. There's like the odd caliper bolted on, but they're not connected, and there is zero brake fluid, so to drive it around, you have to put it in gear, drive it, then once it slows down, stop it. Like jam it in park. So it's pretty sketchy. Let's go ahead and show you guys the motor. Good old Lexus hood struts work every time. So this is of course the SC400, which comes with the 1UZ. Basically it needs a new battery. This is like a deep cycle marine battery, which didn't have the poles on the right side, so I had to use a booster cable to bring it around. I'm just using this battery to move it around my driveway. We're going to order a new battery. It needs power steering to be fixed. Might just need a leak fixed and then more fluid, because all the parts are there. It just doesn't work right now. It idles a little low. I'll get to that in a second when we start it. Of course, I said it needs new brake fluid. But again, everything's there. This car, we paid 800 Canadian for it with a bunch of spare parts. So I'm hoping to fix it up for maybe 1,000 or two and make it into just as good a condition as the LS400. the GS300. Now you guys got the rundown, let's go ahead and start her up. Now it's kind of weird because you're supposed to put the foot on the brake for an automatic car, but no brakes. So let's see if it starts up and idles fine. My foot's not even on the gas. It is idling perfectly fine at just around 1,000 RPM, which is great news. Doesn't always do that, so that's exciting for me. Let's go ahead and show you guys the motor working its glory. There's the SC400 idling under its own power. Now for those of you who don't know, these SC400s and LS400s with the 1UZs are supposed to be very good motors. They put a lot of research and development into them. So what we're going to do is do the classic 1UZ trick and see if we can balance a loonie, the Canadian $1 coin, on the intake manifolds while we rev it. So here we go. There it is right there. The motor is running and the loonie just sits there. Oh, there it goes. So maybe this one's not quite as smooth as they came back 18 years ago or whatever it is now. Well, more than 20, sorry. Anyway, let's see what we got in the trunk. There's the unfortunately large pile of stuff in the trunk. We got lots of interior wiring, lots of brake stuff since the past owner was in the middle of a brake swap. There's those sun visors I was talking about. Looks like we've got more brake pads. So what we're going to do here, I won't show you guys on camera, but I'm going to take all this stuff here, put it right here, then we'll sort it out and see what has to be done. Is the contents of the trunk, and I'm actually quite happy with what I found. So let's quickly go over what was inside. So there's 4 rotors plus 2 in a box. Obviously those 2 on the right look new, and this one in the box almost looks like an older one. There's not much wear, but it's really rusty. And the one on the bottom looks used as well, and there's a few rotors on the car already, so I'm hoping we have enough rotors. Now moving on over here, we have a couple parts of brake calipers. We got 2 full assemblies, 1 old one and 1 new one. Even though it's a little rusty, it is new. We got like the bracket for one of them. These are 2 front brake pads that look used but actually have a lot of life left in them, believe it or not. Here's 4 rear brake pads. Again, used with a lot of life. Here's 2 brand new ones by the looks of it. World part rear brake pads. This is a bunch of like brake shoe parts, just all rusty stuff. Bunch of bolts and connectors. 2 brake shoes. This whole bag is like light bulbs, fuses, brake shoe parts. Then this is kind of a nice find. I found a few boxes of what appears to be brand new brake pads, brake shoe components, and brake shoes. That's kind of exciting. There's that e-brake boot I was talking about. It's in really rough condition though, so I might try and source a new one or stitch it up. I'm not quite sure how to do that though. We got the engine cover, which is pretty cool, little OEM piece. Some like wiring tray. Then there's a bunch of interior parts that were missing, including those visors. There's the speaker from the rear trunk that was removed for some reason. Like I said, they were going to be drifting, so they were taking all this out, but now I got to go put it all back in. We've got like a major wiring harness that looks like it's for the passenger kick panel for the door area, which will probably provide a power to a lot of things that don't have power right now. We've got like the wiper actuator, some other type of actuator, some gold badges and hubcaps. Unfortunately, they're in not good condition because I know those are worth a little bit of money. And then just some carpeting from the rear trunk. And yeah, so that's everything. Then just a bunch of garbage as you'd expect from a cheap car. So basically what I'm going to do now, before I start assembling anything, is clean it out really good. Looks like unfortunately there might have been some mice inhibiting this car while it sat. I'm happy to find that there's no rust anywhere under here. So yeah, I'm just going to give the whole car, inside the trunk and inside the interior, a vacuum and a wipe down before I start maybe doing either the brakes or the interior assembly. So here's the trunk back to its glory. The only problem is a rip in the carpet right there. I got all the carpeting back in place, put this piece of plastic trim on here. Underneath this carpet is the spare tire well, and unfortunately, as you can see, it's sitting flat now, but unfortunately the last owner, I think, tried to jack up the car from that spare tire well right there, this right here, and of course you can't do that. So it made a big old dent in it, so the tire wasn't sitting flat. So I had to use a rubber dead blow hammer it down, and as you can see, it sits perfectly flat now. And the only issue with the trunk is that I believe we're missing the stock CD changer, which I'm not going to cry about, but if someone wants to buy this who wants it to be original, that is missing. So anyway, that is the trunk together, so let's close that up and get to the interior of the car. I can do a time lapse of me working on the interior because there's going to be so many different angles that I have to film. But basically we're missing this big trim piece along here that covers the carpet joining the body. We're missing tons of stuff like the door clicker panel. We're missing this right here. As mentioned earlier, we're missing both the sun visors and the center light assembly, as well as a bit of stuff for the mirror. The mirror's just kind of hanging there right now. Also, this whole piece here, even though it looks good, is really just sitting on and it's not plugged in. This whole door, we're missing the speaker. This whole door is not even attached. And that wiring harness you guys saw on the ground, I believe goes just right in here somewhere. So I'm going to have to figure that out as well. I'm also just going to give the whole interior an armor all and a vacuum to hopefully get rid of all the rust spots. And then when I'm done, I'm going to show you guys what it looks like. Alright, so I've moved the SC into the garage. Progress is going well on the driver's side. I got the entire center console plugged in and bolted down, so nothing is going to move. Everything's all cleaned up and working good. The biggest issue right now is the passenger side window doesn't go up and down because they took off the regulator and the cables got all unwound out of the motor. So it's actually quite a big deal, so I'm going to play with that a little more. If not, I'll have to buy a new, relatively expensive motor, which kind of sucks. And the other kind of annoying thing, which is just an example of how the previous owners took this car apart in a very annoying way, is just like this little piece of wood and plastic trim for that vent. I have over here on the ground, I was able to find every piece I need inside the trunk. They did say every piece was there, and they weren't lying. But here is the wood grain piece, and here is 3 other pieces, all broken apart, that line the wood grain part. So we're going to go ahead and use some super glue, this lock seal stuff, and see if we can fix it up. Well, obviously it's not perfect by any means, but considering it was broken into 4 pieces, it looks a lot better than before. So let's go install it in the car. So to be honest, as long as you don't go up close and personal with the vent, you really can't tell it's that bad. Like, you can barely even see it that close. And as you can see, I also got that little piece of trim put in the door, which basically completes the entire interior assembly, aside from the door card, which I might have to unfortunately wait for a part. So that's going to conclude the interior assembly, I believe, unless I can fix the regulator. So it's probably time to get started on the brakes. Yeah. Alright, so instead of doing the brakes, I decided to do the power steering fluid, because there was like always a puddle underneath the car where I was parked. So what we did is we replaced this line over here. It had a leak right here. It's like a hard and soft line. We replaced it with this like rubber hose. It's not a permanent fix, but it'll make it so we're not leaking fluid all over the place. Now I'm just going to go ahead and top it up with transmission fluid, which is what you put in the power steering for these cars. Then we're going to drive it out of the garage and save the brakes for the next video. Also in the next video, we are going to be replacing the body panels, fixing a bunch of rust, and hopefully taking it for its first test drive on the road. So subscribe to see more of the SC400. Thanks for watching.